So everybody, let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Devin Norton.
Granny was a good one, and anyone could see. Granddad was a working man, he could fix anything. Mama, she was a fighter, grit down to the bone. Of all the places I've been, ain't nowhere quite like home. Where the coyote howls when the leaves turn brown, summer goes too quick, and the bluegrass waves, better watch what you say here in the 606. The year 22 was a tough one. Started with the wind and the rain, and ended up cold with an October snow. I can't wait to see Lady May. The people from the hills and the hollers saw those floodwaters rise. They covered their homes and their memories, it never covered their eyes. Where the coyote howls when the leaves turn around, summer goes too quick, and the bluegrass waves, better watch what you say here in the 606. When summer rolls around, we'll get out our bikes and we'll ride. When she carries the sound, you'll never leave Harlan alive. Where the coyotes howl when the leaves turn brown, summer goes too quick, and the bluegrass waves, better watch what you say here in the 606. Here in the 606. Thank you all, I appreciate it. Like Jordan said, my name is Devin Norton, if we haven't had a chance to meet yet. I'm from Somerset, and I'd like to thank Dan and Natalie Mykoff from Mill Springs Studio for coming out and capturing tonight's audio for us. We're doing a live album recording. Give a hand for Dan and Natalie. And keep it going for Sherry and the nice folks at Java Springs for having us out here. I hope that you guys enjoy tonight, and it's a good, relaxing evening for you on a chilly November. Like Jordan said, all the songs that I write are from the heart. I do like writing songs that make you tap your feet and nod your head, but what I'm really passionate about is writing stuff that is thought-provoking and something that you could fill an entire evening with conversation about after listening to. So hope you guys have something to talk about after tonight. And I lived in Haiti for like 3 years, and my songwriting kind of took off there, and we'll talk about that later. But I learned to appreciate a few things while I was down there. Education is one, and it's pretty incredible what an education can do for an individual and a society as a whole. So I got a job in education when I get back with my boss over there at the college, my coworker, if you like that better. And figured you would. And so education is super important to me, and it's something that I really come to appreciate. But at the same time, I also came to appreciate the fact that you don't have to have a piece of paper to be educated. I know a lot of people who don't have access to education, who didn't have access to go to college or even high school, but are super intelligent, super smart, have plenty to offer the world in terms of thought and everything. So I just wanted to remind you guys tonight that you guys are valuable. You have intrinsic worth as human people with human souls. Doesn't matter about your education, what piece of paper you have, or anything like that. We all have value because we are people. And because we're people and you have value, what you think matters. And it matters because it affects you and it affects the people in your life and what you think is important. So that's what this next song is about. It's sometimes in society, I say society, but it's us individually, we have a tendency to stick to one side or the other, and we just pick a side and stick to it. And if something comes along that some facts or things that we didn't know that might not fit with exactly what we think, then we just say, oh, that can't be right, and jump to the other side. And we're honestly pretty bad at seeing ourselves in other people's shoes and trying to really understand each other. But when people sit down openly and have an open, honest conversation where I recognize, man, I'm not right about everything, and there is something, everybody has something that they can teach me. It might not be somebody who makes a lot of money, and it might not be somebody who has all the degrees or has all the accolades, but everybody can contribute. So this song is about that. It's probably going to end up being the title for this album. And I wrote it last week, so if I'm closing my eyes and doing this, I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to remember the words. But it's called Philosophical Folk. I'm not the man that you picture when they ask what will people think. And I may not have all the answers, but I'll sit down and have us a dream. And others may look at us sideways, 'cause no papers means no right to think. No money to speak of, we're pretty much broke, just philosophical folk. So sit a while and talk with me, and let's see where we can agree. And if we can't change anything that we see, we'll still share the air that we breathe. People don't know how to talk it out, 'cause everyone wants to be right. How about we all lay our weapons all down? There's no need for brothers to fight. And take a step back and take a look at the world and dust off that broken old lens. See the man in the mirror for the sinner he is, and ask for forgiveness of sins. And sit a while and talk with me, and let's see where we can agree. And if we can't change anything that we see, we'll still share the air that we breathe. Others may look at us sideways, 'cause no papers means no right to think. No money to speak of, we're pretty much broke, just philosophical folk. No money to speak of, we're pretty much broke, we're just philosophical folk. Thank you. So when I was living in Haiti, let me turn this reverb off. When I was living in Haiti, some of the neighbors that I lived close to were the founders of the organization that I worked for. And the wife's name was Eleanor, and she was a legend. She's just a legend. Like, she would come into the store where I worked, and we would talk and hang out all the time, and she would tell all these crazy stories, and she always was keeping notes and writing stuff down, sometimes even our conversations. And I was like, what are you writing that down for? But somebody at some point helped her compile all of her stories into short stories and made them into a book. And just to give you an example of the kind of person she was, she hosted the vice president of the United States at her house in Haiti for dinner and didn't even know it. Didn't have any idea who the guy was until after the fact. Her husband's like, yeah, it's the vice president of the United States. She was like, what? And that's like 2 pages in chapter 13. It's like a blip on the radar of her book. And she was one of the first female pilots ever, like one of the first 20 females in the world to get her pilot's license. And she pretty much single-handedly started one of the first family planning programs in a third world country in Haiti back in like the 40s. She's just a legend. She was walking out in the parking lot one day and got knocked down by a truck. Okay, got hit by a truck and then just got up and walked home. Okay, so she's a legend, all right? You got to be pretty tough to make it in Haiti to 94, 95. And you got to be pretty wise, too. And she told me something one time that I'll never forget. She's like, tell me, she's proud of me for learning Creole and, trying to learn the language and get to know people. And she said, Devin, first thing you do when you move somewhere is you learn the language. She said, not so that you can start talking, but so you can start listening. And I thought, man, if that's not selfless love, I don't know what is. Like, that's pretty incredible. And her book is called Those Who Passed By. It's not about her. Every chapter is about somebody else that came into her life. And she, when a book came out, she gave me a copy of it, had a little note in there. And I opened it up, and the first thing in there was something somebody else wrote, and it was a poem by a guy named Sam Walter Foss I'd never heard of. And I read this poem, and I thought, man, that is so fitting for her life and her personality just in general. It's called House by the Side of the Road, and I thought, that'd make a great song. And so I sat down and put it to some music, and I started looking up these other this guy's poems, and he's got several books of poetry. One of them is called Songs of the Average Man. It's probably going to be the name of an album someday. The other one is called Songs of War and Peace, which I hope is not the name of my album someday. But I started this whole journey of turning literature into art, into music because of Eleanor, and this is called House by the Side of the Road. There are hermit souls that live withdrawn in the peace of their self-contained. There were souls like stars who dwell apart in a fellowless firmament. There are pioneer souls who blaze their paths where highways never ran. Just wanna live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend of man. Let me live in my house by the side of the road where the race of men go by. They are good, they are bad, they are weak, they are strong, wise, foolish, and so am I. So why should I sit in the scorner's seat or hurl the cynic's ban? Just wanna live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend of man. I see from my house to the side of the road, by the side of the highway of life, the men who press with the ardor of hope, and the men who are faint with strife. But I turn not away from their smiles nor their tears, both part of an infinite plan. Just live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend of man. Let me live in my house by the side of the road, where the race of men go by. They are good, they are bad, they are weak, they are strong, wise, foolish, and so am I. So why should I sit in the scorner's seat or hurl the cynic's ban? Just wanna live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend of man. I know there are brook-laden meadows ahead, and mountains of wearisome heights, that the road passes on through the long afternoon and stretches away into the night. But still I rejoice when the travelers rejoice and weep with the strangers that moan. Or live in my house by the side of the road like a man who dwells alone. Let me live in my house by the side of the road, where the race of men go by. They are good, they are bad, they are weak, they are strong, wise, foolish, and so am I. So why should I sit in the scorner's seat or hurl the cynic's ban? Just wanna live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend of man. Let me live in my house by the side of the road, where the race of men go by. They are good, they are bad, they are weak, they are strong, wise, foolish, and so am I. So why should I sit in the scorner's seat or hurl the cynic's ban? Just wanna live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend of man. Just wanna live in my house by the side of the road and be a friend of man. Thank you. Like I said, that took me down a journey of songwriting with this guy's work. If you want to look him up again, his name is Sam Walter Foss. He's a great American poet. And probably one of my favorite poems by him is one called Rest and Work. And he's got this style of writing where he doesn't have to come out and say what he's trying to say. He just writes it in a way that it's so obvious that you can't help but get it. And this particular poem is about the difference between true rest and idleness, because there's a difference in just not doing anything and resting. And all of his poems are pretty down to earth like that, where it's talking about stuff that's real life stuff that we can all relate to. And I just really like this one. It's called Rest and Work. Where is a rest in the woodland or the hills? Where is a rest in the money or the thrills? Looking high and looking low, I can't find rest, no matter where I go. Where there's work, there's rest and none beside. Though you travel all lands, sell every tide. Where is rest? Go to work, spirits renew. For no man can rest who has nothing to do. Where is rest? Thunder through the mountainside. Where is rest? underneath the ocean's tide. My friend, I'm looking for rest to fill this hole in my chest. Where there's work, there's rest and none beside. Though you travel all lands, sell every tide. Where is rest? Go to work, spirit serene. For no man can rest. Who has nothing to do. It's here in the cornfield, and take up your home. It's here in the mill, make the paddle wheel go. It's here in your engine, up steam and away. It's down in the coal mines, oh, every night and day. Where there's work, there's rest and none beside. Though you travel all lands, sell every tide. Where is rest? Go to work, spirit serene. For no man can rest who has nothing to do. For no man can rest who has nothing to do. Thank you. Yeah, I never thought I would be writing songs from poems that were over 100 years old. But you don't get to choose what inspires you as a songwriter, as an artist. And I never thought I'd write a song about a bug either. That was deep and meaningful. But I was at work one day and I was reading some short stories, trying to prepare something for our students, and came across this short story by a lady named Virginia Woolf. It's called The Death of a Moth. And I don't know about you, I've seen a lot of bugs in my life, probably thousands of bugs, I would say, thousands. I never once contemplated the meaning of life and death and everything from looking at a bug, but this lady did, and she wrote a story about it, where this lady's in the kitchen and she sees this moth flying around the cabin, and it's back in the day. So there's a guy working outside, there's horses in a barn, there's mountains out the window, they live in this valley. And so she sees this moth, and she starts thinking like, oh man, that's pretty crazy, that thing is alive. I wonder if it's alive in the same way that I'm alive. Like, is the substance of life in the moth the same substance of life in me? And then she's like, oh, well, I wonder about the moth's perspective. Like, if the moth has been inside the whole time, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, but does it know about the guy working in the field outside? Does it know about the horses in the barn out there? Does it know about the mountains out past our property? Like, does it know any of that exists, or does what exists just exist in its little mind here in this room? And so she's thinking all this stuff, right, from just looking at a bug. And she goes on throughout the day, and later she looks and realizes that the moth is like starting to fade, and it's kind of getting weaker and falling out the windowsill. And then she's like, oh, death, it's coming for us all. And it's like, okay, you can look at a moth maybe and be inspired, but I never thought I'd be writing about a dead bug. So after stealing about 15 minutes from my boss over here, I had a song called The Death of a Moth. And I don't know about y'all, my family's one of those that sit around like on the porch out here at those blue lights, and it's like zzz. It's like, there was one. Oh, there's another one. And then inevitably you get that like one that flies like straight in there. It's like fit perfectly between this electrode and this diode, and it's like, bzzz, and it's like on fire and smoking, and you're just, yeah. That was a good one. But yeah, I never thought like maybe the bugs are going, oh no, Luna, she's gone. But maybe they are. But this song is called The Death of a Moth, and it's about the inescapable reality of death. I hope you enjoy it. Not bright enough for butterflies, not dark enough for moths. Something between the grays and blacks, oh, soul is lost. Fluttered about the cabin from the window to the wall. A little drop of life that seemed too faint to carry on. 1 minute on the window, 1 minute on the wall. Missing both the mountains and the horses in the stall. Never knowing what he missed, not seeing awful far. Wings blown by the autumn breeze, alive outside the jar. I sat there watching him fly, don't seem it should be so. Guess the life that lives inside of him is the same within my soul. Clock's hand didn't wave too far till I looked back to see something was coming after him and running after me. 1 minute on the window, 1 minute on the wall. Missing both the mountains and the horses in the stall. Never knowing what he missed, not seeing awful far. Wings blown by the autumn breeze, alive outside the jar. Well, the light of life inside his soul was flickering and faint. His wings stiffened up, he fell from the window pane. Struggled against his enemy, I knew he could not win. For death he comes for all of us, and we must let him in. 1 minute on the window, 1 minute on the wall. Missing both the mountains and the horses in the stall. Never knowing what he missed, not seeing awful far. Blown by the autumn breeze, alive outside the jar. He's blown by the autumn breeze, alive outside the jar. Thank you. Yeah, you don't choose at all what you get inspired by. Sometimes stuff will surprise you. Like, you ever been thinking about just random stuff, and you're like, how the heck did I think of that? Like in Chronicles of Narnia, when Lucy goes into the wardrobe for the first time, and she's in this like magical winter wonderland, she meets this creature with like the bottom half of a goat, the top half of a person, Mr. Tumnus. And they're talking, trying to figure each other out. And she's like, hi, I'm Lucy. And she sticks her hand out. And he's like, the heck is that? What are you doing? She's like, oh, it's a handshake. People do it when they meet each other. And he's like, why? She's like, I don't know. And there's a lot of things that we do that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, like handshakes. I don't know, is anybody in here wearing a tie? I don't understand ties. Like, in what scenario do you need the top of your shirt like tied on real tight? Like, if that's your job where you need to have like a shirt tied on at the neck, like, I understand the belt, all right? There's situations where like stuff can happen. But a tie right here, I don't understand the scenario where you need that, really. So I don't get ties. And then what do you guys do after you get done with every song? Y'all start slapping your hands together like a bunch of fools. What the heck is that? Like, who decided clapping was a thing? Like, at some point in time, there was this conversation. This guy was like, hey, fellas, you know how, like, when we're in public and somebody does something, like, pretty incredible or talented or, like, inspiring, and how we go to them and we say, hey, man, good job, and we encourage them and we tell them how much they mean to us. Let's not do that anymore. How about next time we just slap our hands together? I don't know why that is a thing. And then the thing that inspired this next song is when a guy gives a girl roses as like a romantic gesture. That is, if you ever thought about it, it's super creepy. Like, here's how it goes. You're pretty. You smell good. You know what? These flowers, they reminded me of you. And so I took my knife and I cut them from their source of life. And I'm going to put them in this jar here so that you can watch them die like real slow at your desk or in your windowsill. And it means that I really care about you. Like, that is so freaking creepy. I don't get it. So yeah, sometimes you get this idea in your mind. You're just like, how the heck did I think of that? Like, what is wrong with me? And this is one of those songs that started out that way, but then it kind of took on a deeper meaning. I started like making fun of it at first, and I was like, oh, wait. Kind of makes sense when you think about like flowers being, not the giving of the flowers, but this song makes sense in the sense of like, people can sometimes be beautiful and attractive and all the things on the outside that you're like, oh man, that'd be great to get to know that person and be friends. And then you get to know them and you're like, ooh, they got some stuff. And like, I don't know if you know this, but like a lot of flowers are super poisonous. Like, yeah, you can go put you some dandelions in your salad, but like, you get a hold of a daffodil, or like you get a buttercup, it sounds like it tastes good, probably does not, it's poisonous. That puts you in a hospital. It's a bad day if you eat a buttercup. So I was like, that's interesting. These things that are pretty that people like to look at and smell, they could kill you. And people talk about how life is not a bed of roses. You ever hear that? It's like, what kind of bed would that be? And they say that as if it's like a good thing. But like roses are they have these massive thorns. Like that would not be a good bed. So like maybe that makes a little more sense than you think. So this is called Roses. Say life's not a bed of roses, but I think that it is. 'Cause we all do a lot of things, it doesn't make much sense. I thought that these were beautiful, they made me think of you. So I took my knife and cut their life and pulled them from the root. Laid down with me in roses, sleep until the morn. This bed that we are laying in is made of all the thorns. See, life's a bed of roses, the thorns are all the lies. The flowers are the pretty things that catch us by surprise. We're all pretty things just dying in the sun. Pack my bags, I'm living on the run. Water me and cover me with shade, so I can live another day. The lily of the valley, the daffodils and you, the mistletoe and buttercups are quite a pretty view, but poison on the inside, and I suppose it's true. Roses have the sharpest thorns, at least they tell the truth. Roses have the sharpest thorns, at least they tell the truth. We're all pretty things just dying in the sun. Pack my bags, I'm living on the run. Water me and cover me with shade, so I can live another day. Thank you, thank you. I want to remind you again that what you think matters, and in just life in general, in a lot of different ways, we have, if we're not careful, we can fall into this trap where we kind of lose what you call nuance, where you can hold something really dearly and loosely at the same time, and life is more complicated a lot of times than it seems on the surface. And if you're not careful, you can find yourself just repeating things that you've heard. Maybe somebody says something that you look up to, or that's on a program that you like the radio or TV or something, or a podcast, and somebody that you respect and have listened to and trust. And they might say something that sounds really, really good, and so you just take it and you just start repeating it and never really dig down into it to see what it actually says, what it actually means, and if you really believe it or not when it comes down to it. And there's two questions that you can ask yourself and others a lot of times if you're in conversations to kind of get down to the root of things. The first one is, what do you mean by that? Like if you hear like a sound bite or something, or somebody saying something that kind of like, doesn't quite sit right, but you're not exactly sure why, or maybe you do know why and you just don't want to say it and be a jerk, you can ask them, what do you mean? Because a lot of times people haven't thought it through enough to even know what it means. They just repeat it again, and you're like, oh, okay, well, the second question, how did you come to that conclusion? Because a lot of times if you repeat something or you take a side without thinking about it, you're not really reached a conclusion on anything, you just picked a side. And there's a difference in picking a side and believing something and reaching a conclusion about that thing, doing the work and getting down into the details of, oh, why do I actually believe this? How do I know this is true? And there was a guy one time who saw a really good opportunity to teach that lesson to his audience. And he wasn't a philosopher, he wasn't a theologian, he wasn't a teacher, he was an entertainer, he was an acrobat. His name was Charles Blondin, and he was a Frenchman. He would come over periodically to Canada and the United States and New York, and he would string this tightrope across Niagara Falls, and he would do all of these incredible acrobatic stunts on the tightrope. One time he walked out there with a bucket and lowered it down. You all been to Niagara Falls? They got that like boat that drives around down there. You can go up to the falls. Where he lowered his bucket down to the boat, and they put in some ice and a bottle of wine and a glass, and he pulled it back up, and he was so confident that he poured himself a glass of wine on the middle of the tightrope and had a glass of wine. But that was nothing, because one time he took a stove out there. I don't know how big it was, but it was a stove that had a fire on it and an egg, a couple eggs, I don't know. And he got out there and he cooked an omelet in the middle of the tightrope, and he ate it. And it was this incredible feat. Everybody was super impressed. And another time he walked across on stilts. And another time he carried his manager, one of his good friends, on his back. Like, you got to trust your friend to do that, right? And so he did all of these incredible stunts. And this one time he thought, oh, I'll get him. And he had this wheelbarrow, and he walked across with the wheelbarrow in his hands with it empty, put stuff in it. He walked backwards, forwards, blindfolded, every way he could think of to walk across with the wheelbarrow. And after a little while, he went to one side and he was like, hey, do you guys think that I could walk across this tightrope with a man inside the wheelbarrow? And they're all like, yeah, of course, we believe that. And he was like, all right, who wants to go for a ride? And nobody moved. Nobody got in. Because what they did, they saw something and they jumped to a conclusion that, oh, I believe this. And they thought to themselves, oh, I've seen it, I know it, therefore I believe it. But they didn't believe it enough to actually trust him, right? So there's a difference in like believing that something and believing in something, right? And that was, I guess, the lesson he was trying to teach them. But this song is about that. It's called The Ballad of Charles Blondin. Strung up a wire nearly 50 yards high on the New York-Canada line, or the maid of the mist, a pole clutched in his fist, made the trip about 17 times. As the years went on by, he got bolder and bolder, wore his stilts and covered his eyes. He even carried a friend on the top of his shoulders, once popped a bottle of wine. Then one day he stopped and he turned to the crowd. They all came 'cause they wanted to see. With his handcart in hand, they all seemed very proud. He asked them the following things: do you think I could cross? With a man said inside the crowd, chance I believe, I believe. And who'll be the first one to go for a ride? And they all got so weak in the knees. They all got so weak in the knees. Though many don't see there's a difference between belief that a thing is the case and believing in something with all of your life. The likeness stops dead on the face. But it's been the mistake of many a man. There's a price to be paid in the end. And maybe you'd cross if you realized the cost. After all, he did carry a friend. After all, he did carry a friend. Thank you all. Appreciate that. How many of y'all ever been backpacking? Like on a backpacking trip? Anybody? Like spend days out in the mountains or in the woods somewhere without ever having cell phone service or a bathroom or a shower or a water source that you didn't have to filter? Well, I do that about once a year. And when I'm out there in like these grand landscapes of mountains and canyons, and there's these lakes that you can drink out of if you just put a little filter through them real quick. It's pretty incredible how when you don't have access to the world in your pocket, how you just snap back to reality for a minute. Like we walk around with the world at our fingertips, right? Like we can literally pull out this little thing in our pocket and know what's happening on the other side of the world with wars and politics and anything. And when you disconnect from that, I think a lot of us have forgotten because we do it so infrequently. You kind of get out there, and whether it's in a conversation with a good friend when you're like really in the moment, or you're out in nature, or you're doing an activity that you really enjoy and you're just like in it for a minute, you can kind of get this sense of like, oh, there's more to life than all of the noise. And you kind of remember that, oh, I've got purpose out there to find. I've got meaning out there to find. And we've all been sitting in the morning with a cup of coffee in our hand and sunrise coming up and just been like really contemplative. I think a lot of us have probably done that over the years. So this is just a song about those moments when you realize that there's more in the midst of your solitude. Sit in the morning of a cold rain, drink your coffee on the porch swing, listen to the tin roof sing. Ask God, where did evil come from? And take a walk out in the forest, build a fire out of warmth, birds singing their chorus, and wonder why don't know much about money and fame, don't know much about playing the game. I know deep down all men are the same, all looking for that flame. Paddle down the rushing river, cliff sides are getting bigger, legs and soul begin to shiver. You still here, don't know much about money and fame, don't know much about playing the game. I know deep down all men are the same, all looking for that flame. And all I need is something to do. All I need is you. Oh, is you. Don't know much about money and fame, don't know much about playing the game. I know deep down all men are the same, all looking for that flame. Wander out into the tide now. The surf's bigger than it looked, wow. Waves and world come crashing down. Throw up a prayer. Don't know much about money and fame, don't know much about playing the game. I know deep down all men are the same, all looking for that flame. Thank you all, I appreciate it. See, the next one is one that I wrote at home by myself during COVID. And I was thinking about all that stuff because I was alone, you know, kind of contemplating life. And I've found the answer to meaning and purpose in Jesus. I'm a Christian. That basically just means that I believe that Jesus is God and that he was a human, just a real historical person. And he was free from all the corruption that's in my heart and in your heart. And when he died and came back to life, somehow, I don't know how to explain or anything like that, but somehow that counted for me and kind of bridged that gap of me and a perfect God who can't be in harmony with imperfection because that wouldn't be perfect. So I found meaning and purpose in Jesus, but You know, Christianity is become a religion that's cultural in a lot of places, and we've probably all, or a lot of people, have been to church or know people who go to church. And unfortunately, a lot of folks have kind of missed the whole boat and missed the point. Because, Jesus didn't say he'll know you by your political affiliation or your culture or the language that you speak or the people that you hang out with. People won't know that you're following him because of any demographic thing like that. But he said they will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. And I was thinking about all that stuff during COVID, home by myself a lot. And got to reading some scripture in the Bible and stuff, and got to the part about when Jesus is talking about the word of God being like a seed that's sowed everywhere and like thrown everywhere by a farmer. And sometimes it falls in a place that's good for growing, and sometimes it doesn't. And but throughout the Bible, there's like this imagery of life in a tree or a plant, and they're always talking about like growing fruit and having fruit. And so I wrote this song thinking about all of those different images in the Bible of trees and everything like that. It's called Like the Trees. Like the trees planted by streams, may I stand tall through the fall. And as the leaves begin to change, may I bear fruit in your name. May I bear fruit in your name. May my roots grow past the rocks. May I spring up through the weeds. And like the pines on mountainsides, may I stand the test of time. May I stand the test of time. Like the California redwood, giants of the trees, may I grow tall and strong enough to see. And when the world around me quakes and my roots begin to shake, may you hold me upright with your mighty hand. May you hold me upright with your mighty hand. When the days grow cold and gray and the sun don't shine the same, and I lose my leaves to the bitter winter breeze, like the hickory may I wait for the spring. Like the hickory may I wait for the spring. When my days come to an end and it's time to bring the timber in, may the axe that brings me down be stamped with the image of a crown. Be stamped with the image of the crown. Thank you, thank you. I'm going to retune this thing. Yeah. It's not always fun, life. I was hanging out with some people, some of these guys over here, at Chart Oak in Somerset. And we saw somebody that we went to high school with, and it took me a second to recognize who it was, and I was like, oh, look, there's so-and-so. And trying to think of her name and all that, and I looked at this guy, and I was like, hey, isn't that, so-and-so? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, man, she looks a lot different. And he was like, yeah, she had a really tough time after high school. She got addicted to drugs and hanging out with the wrong crowd, and all these horrible things happened to her. And she's trying to get her life back on track. And it just made me real sad, like life is not always super fun. And just because that you can have hope and find purpose and meaning doesn't always mean that it's going to be great, fantastic rainbows and butterflies. And there's not this magical world in the closet you can go to and meet Mr. Tumnus. But it's something that you just got to kind of figure out how to deal with, right? So I got home, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, this person was super cool. They were super popular. How in the world did they ever do this to their life? How did this happen? And so I wrote this song, and it's just called This Girl Back in High School. I seen her in a bar across the room. Our eyes, they met and locked just a few brief seconds, almost like looking through a haze. And I thought, oh man, I knew this girl back in high school, more popular than me. Sat behind her back in math class, learning about all those theories. Well, I don't have one for this one, nearly breaks my heart in two. Oh girl, what's this world done to you? Honey, I'm not one to judge by looks alone, but looks like you might have wandered far from home. Those guys you're with keep looking back my way. I don't know them, but I sense they just see a pretty face. This girl back in high school, more popular than me. They always talked about you like you were just some trophy. But the girl I knew was smart and bright and pretty as can be. Is that girl still looking back at me? Is that girl still looking back at me? I seen her in a bar across the room, and our eyes, they met and locked for just a few. I'll just depress you a little bit more. There's different chapters in life too. There's high school, and then you got college or whatever you do. I didn't do all of the college, and I didn't go into work either. I went to some island and hung out. But you got different chapters in life. And sometimes when you go from one chapter to the next, it can be super exciting and super fun and all this happy stuff. And sometimes not so much. Sometimes it's one of those things where you're like, don't really have a choice, whether it's timing or whether it's, circumstances. And leaving Haiti and coming back to live in Kentucky was actually harder for me than leaving Kentucky and going to Haiti. Because, I became an adult over there. I made all of these wonderful friends, and it was pretty difficult. So I was sitting in first class because to fly back with like 3 checked bags, it was cheaper just to get first class and to pay for all the luggage. And I'm sitting next to this dude that we're obviously on different levels, and I'm over here like, contemplating life and the next chapter and all this stuff, and I thought, man, like, I'm so sad, I can't deal with it. And so I'm like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna watch a Disney movie. A lot of stuff's come out in the last 4 years that I've not seen. I've not gone to the movies. I've not watched TV. Like, I'm gonna find me a Disney movie, and I'm gonna get my mind off of this and get a little joy here for a minute. And so I'm scrolling through the little TV there on the back of the person in front of me. And I'm, looking at all these Disney movies. I'm like, oh, this one looks cute. I think I've heard of this one. Like, a lot of people tell me, this is really good. It's a masterpiece. It's really good for the kids. Like, it's a great, insightful movie and all this. And so I press play on the movie Inside Out. And it was, let me tell you, the guy next to me did not know what to do, okay? Like, halfway through that movie, I'm over there, I'm like, oh, Lord. And I'm like, not bawling or anything, but like, there's tears, there's like stuff happening. And this guy obviously he's like, what the heck? Why did I get sat next to this guy? But it was pretty funny when you think about it, because it's like, yeah, that could not have been the worst movie ever to watch when you're trying to be happy and you're in the middle of something right now, freaking Inside Out, and that little weird creature elephant guy gets all sad, and it's like everybody cries, even if you're not going through anything. You can be like just married, having the time of your life, and cry watching that movie. So like, can't imagine that God wasn't up there just like laughing at me, just like, ha, I do have a sense of humor. But it was after that, not immediately after that, but after that, at some point, when I got home and kind of got settled back, that I wrote this song. Because it's called Plains and Partings, because when I was living down there, we always had people come visit, right? We had different people every month. Sometimes people would come and stay for a few days, and sometimes they come and stay for a few months, but they inevitably all left except for like 3 people. So I said goodbye to a lot of people because, they come in, they're having like this crazy experience to them where they're living in a new place and they're meeting all these fun people and everything's happening. And you get really, really close, really, really fast. It's almost like college, but like distilled down into like a week or a month. And so you have to say goodbye to a lot of people. And my roommate had this playlist on Spotify that was super sad. And it was called Plains and Partings. And he would listen to it whenever somebody would leave or whenever he would leave, like on vacation or something, and had to leave us behind for a while. He'd listen to a song called or a playlist that he made called Plains and Partings. And I was like, oh, that'd be a good name for a song. And then I sat down, I was like, oh, this is so sad. So, we'll just be depressed a little bit more. It's called Plains and Partings. Swear it's like leaving home a second time. There are things I don't want to leave behind. In my mind, there is a voice. God, do I have to make this choice? Why can't things just ever stay the same? Life is changing, we all think it's just a game. But my soul has cleaved to this place. Now I'm leaving. Plains and partings. Planes and partings, and I know we just met a few years ago, but right now my heart's an empty hole. And I know there are better days ahead, but right now my soul is full of dread. Why can't things just ever stay the same? Life is changing, we all think it's just a game, but my soul has cleaved to this place, and now I'm leaving. Planes and partings, planes and partings, planes. Oh. Now I'm looking out the window of this plane. Captain, let me off, goes on inside my brain, but my body sits still in my seat. Now I'm leaving. Planes and partings, planes and partings. Why can't things just ever stay the same? Life is changing, we all think it's just a game, but my soul has cleaved to this place. Now I'm leaving. Planes and partings, planes and partings, planes and partings. Thank you. It's not all bad. All right. How long have I been depressing you? A little over an hour. So that guy, Sam Walter Foss, he had an interesting perspective on life. And, he wrote some stuff that you think, oh, people have always had this problem, or people have always had this thought or idea. I thought it was just like us now. I thought we were so much smarter now than these people were 100 years ago. But he writes this one about whenever throughout history there's been people who have, society is in crisis, or whether it might not be society, it might be a family or a business or an organization of some sort. And inevitably it happens, things go wrong, and you're in a kind of a place where you're trying to survive, and there's crisis. And sometimes fate has it that there's a person, a man or a woman, who steps up from the crowd, just a regular person who might not have a degree in anything and might not have any accolades or anything that qualifies them to be such a person. But they come up from the crowd and lead a change and change their little part of the world. And Jesus did that in a big way, right? But there's been other people who have done that all throughout history, like Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi. And just think of all the Nelson Mandela, all the people throughout history who have stepped up in crisis and been the people that people need. And that was kind of his point of the whole thing. It's called the man from the crowd. And the point is, it's not, when you set out to do something great, most of the time it falls on its face because it's pride. But when you step up because you're needed and because you're thinking about other people and not yourself, and you have that true humility, like a lot of times, side note, a lot of times we think humility is like thinking less of ourselves and putting ourselves, like maybe shortchanging ourselves a little bit. And I think that's kind of dumb because like sometimes you're just good at stuff, and that's great. You don't have to downplay it. You don't have to pretend like you're not, all right? Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. And that's the only time that these people can come up is when they put other people ahead of themselves. This is the man from the crowd. I just realized, never tune this back from that last song. It's way out. Sorry about that. It's abrupt, I know. It's very important, though, that this sounds decent. Okay. The man from the crowd. Men seem alike as the leaves on the trees, as alike as the bees in a swarming of bees. We look in millions that make up the state, all equally little, equally great. Then fate calls for a man that is larger than men. There's a surge in the crowd, there's a movement, and then there rises a man who is larger than men. And the man comes up from the crowd. There's a dead hum of voices, all say the same thing. And our forefathers' songs are the songs that we sing. And the deeds of our fathers and grandfathers done are done by the Son of the Son of the Son. Call for a man who shall make all things new. And goes down through the throng, see he rises in view. Make room for the man who shall make all things new. And a man comes up from the crowd. And the man comes up from the crowd. Whoa. Whoa. song. Who makes the old world a world that is new? And who is the man? It is you, it is you. We are waiting for you, that you are the man. Come up from the jostle as soon as you can. Come up from the crowd, that you are the man. You're the man who comes up from the crowd. You're the man who comes up from the crowd. You're the man who comes up from the crowd. Thanks again, thanks again. So obviously none of this stuff is out yet, but there is one that is out. If you want to go ahead and follow me on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you have, Deezer, I don't even know if that's a thing people do here. But it's out there, you just look me up, Devin Norton. The song is called Appalachian Tide, the one that's already out. And I wrote it last summer in August after the floods in eastern Kentucky. I went over there with Kentucky Baptist Disaster Relief in Whitesburg, and we did some like flood recovery stuff. And just got to know some people over there, and here's some really amazing stories. And I was probably, as Kentucky Baptist Disaster Relief, I was probably the youngest person in that group by 20 years maybe. But it was really amazing because I got to spend time with all these people that were super cool, had awesome life stories. And every day when we would get back from different job sites, we had crews of like 6, 7 people, and we would get back from different job sites, and they'd have dinner for us there, and people would go around and tell stories from the day of just things that happened. And that's where this song came from. It was after dinner one night. I sat down to write a bunch of the stuff down that I'd heard, and started writing this song. And one of the guys in my crew came over, and he was like, "Man, what are you doing?" And I'd taken my guitar because, you know, take it everywhere. But I was sitting there. It was probably 11 o'clock at night, and played the song for him, and he was like, "Oh man, you got to play that to all the guys. They're still asleep, or they're not asleep yet. They're still awake." And went in there and sang this, and we all cried. And then, but that's why I released it, because I've been writing songs now for about 15 years, and it's gotten to the point where the catalog is so big that it's really hard to pick something. And I wanted the first single that I released to at least mean something to me and have some something more than just like a pop song behind it. I don't write that many pop songs, you can probably tell. But I couldn't pick one, okay? So I thought, man, this one's about Kentucky. I like it. I just wrote it. It's my favorite song at the time because it was my latest one that I wrote. It's always my favorite one. The last one you wrote, it's always your favorite, isn't it, Tommy? So, so this is called Appalachian Tide. Flood waters rise into the night, and the mountains crying from their eyes. Tell me how I'm supposed to fight an Appalachian tide. The rain keeps pouring on for days, and my whole world is swept away. The house built by my daddy's hands get by the sliding of the lane. Appalachia rise into the morning light. Mother Nature is big to fight. Forget our pride and political divide. We'll figure it out and be alright. A boy on a bike comes flying down the chute. Ain't got no brakes to stop his old boot. Says my pastor's house got pulled up by the roots. But don't pray for me, only got my living room. Appalachia rise into the morning light. Mother Nature is big to fight. Forget our pride and political divide. Figure it out and be alright. Another kid walks up to working men. Says, sir, I'd like to lend a helping hand. His hometown's been through living hell. I can do it, sir, I swear, I'm almost 12. Appalachia rise into the morning light. Mother Nature is big to fight. Forget our pride and political divide. We'll figure it out and be alright. Appalachia rise into the morning light. Figure it out and be alright. Thank you, appreciate that. How many of y'all have ever listened to Kentucky sports radio before? Anybody? I know you did, Jordan. We wrote this song together. A while back, a couple years ago, they were doing this thing on a radio show that we listened to. And they were going through all the counties in Kentucky, and they were doing a special segment each day on a different county in Kentucky. All 182, 180? I don't remember how many there are. A lot. 120. Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. So all 120 counties, and they got somewhere in the S's before they stopped. They never finished anything that they start. But when they got to Carroll County, they read this poem, or this song, that some random person called in, and it's a folk thing. Nobody knew who wrote it. Nobody really knew where it came from. But it was this song about Carroll County. And it was just like a little chorus, like a little verse. And they were kind of making fun of it, like, how could this possibly be a song? Like, they didn't see what I saw in the song, okay? They were making fun of the guy, and I was like, oh, man, like, this is a banger. And so I called Jordan. I was like, hey, man, did you listen to that? And he was like, yeah, I can listen to it on podcast. And so he went back and listened to it, and I went back and copied all the words down in my notes, and we got together either that night or later that week, and we sat down and we looked at it. We're like, okay, this is not enough for a whole song, but it's pretty neat. This guy wanted it to be the anthem of Carroll County like 100 years ago, and we were going to turn it into a song for him. And so, but it wasn't enough for like a whole song. It was just like a verse and a chorus. So we started Googling and did our own research, and we found like some just general facts about Carroll County, like it's in the Cumberland Pass, and the buffaloes used to be there way back in the day. So we threw some of that in, verse 2, and then we're like, okay, we got verse 2. And so then we kept looking and digging on the internet, and we found one of the founding settlers of Carroll County, like back in the or maybe it was the 1700s. I forget when it was, but it was a long time ago. And it was his diary entry. And it was like, yeah, that's pretty good in a song, like that's pretty good. But we tweaked this and that and turned it into a whole song. And it's called a song about Carroll County, because that's what the guy called his little song, was just a song about Carroll County. So here it is. There's a county, dear, full of cheer, where the latch strings long. Oh, I'll sing a song at the sunlight of morn, the place where I was born. Here in dear old Carroll County, here in dear old Carroll County, the rivers run near the confluence of fear, and hope carried us into this place. Across buffalo traces, through the Cumberland Pass, we found Carroll County at last. Here in dear old Carroll County, here in dear old Carroll County, water-rich history, a tapestry woven before my eyes. In front of me lies a scene quaint and queer. I wish that my roots were here. Here in dear old Carroll County, Thank you. This next one is a song about a ship. It's real happy. I love it. It's about, sometimes things happen in a friendship that kind of tear you apart, but it was a chance that you had to take, right? And sometimes it doesn't work out, and you're like, oh, well, we can't be friends anymore. So this is a song about a ship. And you can probably put the pieces together. This ship is sinking fast. A storm has torn the mast. The anchor's gone, the sails are torn. And I won't be joining you. The lifeboat's not got room for two. So save yourself and get to shore. I will go down with the ship, let it sink on top of me. When you get to shore, let them look no more, for I am laid to rest at sea, where I should be. It's my fault we're in this mess. We should have never left the port and sailed into oncoming storms. But I hear on the other side, this sea that's deep and wide is a land worth dying for. So I will go down with the ship, let it sink on top of me. When you get to shore, let them look no more, for I am laid to rest at sea. Remember me. Thank you. This next one is about I sang the one that I wrote when I moved back from Haiti to the United States. But I wrote this one, actually over the course of a couple of years. I wrote the first one the first verse before I moved to Haiti. It starts out 1444 from my backyard to your front door. It was 1,440 miles from my backyard of my parents' house to the front door of a house where I stayed when I was in Haiti for the first time. And so this song, I wrote first verse kind of on this side, and then like the middle verse there. And I don't remember when I finished it, but I finished it at some point. But this is a song that took a while to write. I think it's called So Long, Kentucky. Yeah, it's 1444 from my backyard to the front door, where I watch the sunset burn across the waves, in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, right where God wants me to be. So I'm packing up my things for old Haiti. So long, Kentucky. Yeah, it's been a pretty good ride. I grew up between your hills. You'll be forever on my mind. But you know time, it changes things. So forgive me if I cry, but it's time to tell my old Kentucky home goodbye. In one hand I've got my ticket, and in the other my guitar. 1,400 miles away, you've got my heart. This old world is not my own, so I'll soldier until I'm home. But don't worry, Mom and Dad, it's not too far. I'll see Kentucky when I check my Facebook page, and when I FaceTime home on Sundays, and I see my brother's face. You know I'm always wearing blue, singing my old Kentucky home, hoping Duke and Louisville both can tie and lose. You know I'm gonna miss all that, but know God's putting me where I'm at. And I'll see you all at Christmas when I'm back. So I'll sing one song for my old Kentucky home, my old Kentucky home, far away. Weep no more, my lady. Oh, weep no more today. I'll sing one song for my old Kentucky home, my old Kentucky home, far away. Thank you. If you haven't picked out who my mom is yet, just look for the person bawling her eyes out right now. Let's see. So I really only prepared up until Appalachian Tide, but I figured I was depressing you guys, so we still got a couple minutes left. I'll do a couple more maybe, but this is another Kentucky sports radio inspired song. There was a football game a couple years ago where in the pregame show they were talking about Stoops' Coach Mark Stoops, if you don't know who that is. They were talking about his pregame speech to the Kentucky football team. And he was telling them about, I don't know if this is true or not, but he was telling them about some Navy or Army or Conquer or something that came to a war and they showed up, and the guys kind of wanted to go back home, and they weren't really seeing the point of fighting the whole thing. And the captain of the crew of the whole battalion of ships just lit them all on fire. So they didn't have any choice but to fight the war, and it kind of made the battlefield their home. It's about that. Devil's hordes upon your shores from the North Atlantic Sea. We've traveled far from land and home to conquer and be free. War painted blue and anthracite storm the beach, run to fight. And a blaze from behind, this land is now mine. Hell's fire, it follows me, 'cause we burn the ships. We burn the ships. Night a dog's gonna growl, a prisoner found. We've taken your fields for our own. Gonna burn down the town, our own heads we will crown. The battlefield now is our home, 'cause we burn the ships. We burn the ships. We burn the ships. This next one, if I can remember how to play it, I wrote after there was a group of guys that would hang out during COVID, and we hung out at a bonfire. We hung out at somebody's garage most of the time, in a barn, and we would talk about stuff that was like, stuff we wanted to talk about. At the beginning we decided we were going to do this because nobody had anything to do. It was during COVID. And we decided we wanted to meet and just talk about stuff. And everybody wrote on a big old piece of cardboard a topic that they wanted to talk about. And we would all meet, we would all cook out. Kagan over here would barbecue up something, and we'd all burn our mouths to death with the lava of melted cheese inside of a bratwurst. But it was talking about fellowship one day. We were talking about, what is fellowship actually? Is it something that you can have with somebody that you don't get along with? Is it something that you can have with somebody that you disagree with? And I don't know. I wrote this song after talking about that, and the premise is just, fellowship is something when, kind of came to the conclusion, fellowship is just something when you're all in the same boat, going to the same place, headed the same direction, and for lack of a better word, you're on a crew. You're just a fellowship of your fellow men, and you're all sailing the ship together. So if I can remember anything about how to play this, I'll play it. Give me 1 second. I'll remember it. It's on the list, so I know it. Close. Told you I'd remember. Captain called me to sail the 7 seas. His crew, our ship, she's meant for waters vast and deep, to sail through wake and sleep. This crew I'm in, made up of fellow men who give their lives for the captain's sacrifice. For the captain gave his life. We've never seen the shore, but the captain says there's more over the horizon's line. We were enlisted in the crew when the captain paid our dues, pulled us up with a bowline from the dead back into life. Now sail away from the man I was those days. This heart of stone was an anchor for my soul. Now I'm new, that man is old. Now my brothers and my sisters have new life within the scriptures, in the God-man Jesus Christ. He cast out his mighty net, fished for us and never left, till he drew us to his sight. Now I'm sailing on this tide. Our ship has no wheel, no hand upon the till. He guides the wind as he guides the hearts of men, as he guides the hearts of men. Thank you. We'll do one more. Originally, I planned to bring a keyboard and do this thing with a synthesizer that I never play with a synthesizer. But it was a song about that I wrote a few weeks ago, kind of for this. And I think I'll end with that. It was, it's a song that is about whenever you're young and you're kind of idealistic and you grow up and you kind of have to fight off this cynicism that seems to plague everybody. And the older you get, the worse it gets, and the more you have to fight. And you can look at a little kid, right, and see him walking around with no cynicism, not a care in the world, and you really, really appreciate that. And the fact that you can see the gift that they have means that you're growing older. And so this song is about that just preciousness of that time in your life when you're an adult, but you still have a little bit of that left over. And it's called Midnight Confessions. And a confession here, I've never played it on guitar. I've only ever played it on the piano. So this will be interesting. I never go to sleep when I'm supposed to, 'cause I almost lost you when I was away. Now I never hit the road when I'm supposed to, 'cause I almost lost you along the way. Lord, forgive me of my sin and the things that I once did. Never swung when I didn't have a gun. And now I'm feeling pretty down. This old world's turned me around. And I'm trying to find my way back home to you. I'm half the man I was when I was 20. Naive mind and a bleeding heart to boot. And I didn't give a damn about the money. I still don't. I gave all my damns to you. It's not the bad things that have hurt the most when good goes bad. It is so close now, my bleeding heart is lying on the floor. The change of life is in the air, the leaves all fall, and you don't care, and I'm crying as I'm walking out the door. Darkness falls, but I'm waiting for the light. 'Cause I never go to sleep when I'm supposed to. 'Cause I almost lost you. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate you. You can look for some of these songs, not all of them, but some of them in the future sometime. Follow me on social media at Devin Norton Music. That's, and what do I have, Snapchat? No. I got Instagram, and I got Facebook. And there's this thing called Bands in Town, where if you want to see where I'm playing next, you can go to Bands in Town. It's an app or a website. And you can follow like local people, and it will show you where they're playing. And you can just pick an area, and it will show you who's playing in your area in whatever date range you want. So Bands in Town, get that. And then follow me at Devin Norton Music. And you can visit me at devinnortonmusic.com. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate you, and I hope you have something to talk about for a while.